Hi there, my name is Quinlan Lyman, and I'm going to be teaching to the high school health education standard, specifically section 5 on healthy relationships. And the concept that I'm going to be going over is H1 section 5, high school section B, compare and contrast characteristics of healthy and unhealthy romantic and sexual relationships. So here we go. So I'm going to be talking about what is love in healthy relationships. What does that look like for high schoolers and beyond as they navigate their romantic endeavors? So I'm going to be talking about the Sternberg triangle love theory. Sternberg was an American psychologist and he was born in the 50s. This was developed in the 70s and he's known for like some of the first intelligence tests, and he knows what he's talking about when it comes to love, and let me tell you why. So the triangle talks about 3 aspects of what makes up a loving relationship, and these are passion, intimacy, and commitment. Passion essentially encompasses all the physical aspects of a romantic relationship, physical attraction, and all of that good stuff. Intimacy, which is the emotional connection between 2 people in a romantic relationship, and commitment, which is the promise that 2 people make to each other to stay together in that relationship. And when you have the 3 that come together, it creates the most ideal type of love, but we'll be talking about that later. And so we're going to be talking about 4 different types of love, and these are infatuation, affectionate love, fatuous love, and consummate love. So what I would want my students to do in this moment right now, I would ask, what are the differences and similarities between fatuous love versus affectionate love? And essentially I would want students to be seeing these words and thinking, what are differences that I can point out right away as I hear these words coming from the teacher? So this is what I would have them do. Individually write a few sentences on what you notice about what could be different based on the names, quote unquote, affectionate and fatuous. So the understanding that I would be looking for right now, affectionate is also known as companionate love, which I will be referencing later in the lesson, but I would want them to be able to determine that fatuous is a much more romantic, an intense love compared to affectionate love. Affectionate love, which I will explain later, is when there's intimacy and commitment but no physical attraction, but fatuous is when there's physical attraction and commitment but no intimacy. And so I want them to kind of start to explore what that might mean in their own minds, just based off of hearing those words. So I would give them a couple minutes, of course, to do this, so we're going to be going over these first 3 types of love. So there's fatuous. If you wrote these down correctly, essentially you would say that there is a lot of passion in fatuous love. If you think about the word infatuation, that's how you would feel when you're really physically attracted to another person. When you're in high school, of course, you're having these big crushes on people and like these popular people in high school. You feel like you're in love with them, but you don't know them on that emotional level, nor do you have a commitment with them. But a fatuous relationship would look like a casual relationship, not necessarily an exclusive boyfriend or girlfriend and girlfriend, etc., depending on the person. This would be such as friends with benefits. This isn't something that high schoolers would be partaking in as far as I'm concerned. They might, but the hope is that they wouldn't be. So there is passion and commitment, but the key thing to note is that there is no intimacy, which means there is no emotional connection between 2 people in these kinds of relationships. And so the next type of love is infatuation, which essentially means that there's only physical attraction. There's no emotional connection, no commitment whatsoever. This would basically be if you found yourself falling head over heels for someone that you barely even know and simply just having a crush on them. So that's not a stable type of love. But then there is affectionate / companionate, and looking at the difference between fatuous and affectionate, fatuous has passion and commitment but no emotional intimacy, but affectionate and companionate has the intimacy and commitment but no physical attraction, or not necessarily physical attraction, but no physical connection, not necessarily yet. So an affectionate companionate relationship might look like a best friend relationship. Me and my best friend Madeline from back home would be considered in a companionate relationship. We have that emotional bond together we've committed to having this friendship for however many years, but there's no physical connection and I don't love her in that sense. So at this point in time, I would ask the students to talk amongst themselves and think, which kind of love do you think would be the healthiest out of the three that we've discussed so far, and why or why not? What I would like them to notice is that I haven't talked about consummate love, which is the love that encompasses all three elements. This would be the time where they think, oh, affectionate love might be more healthy than fatuous, but there's still not that physical connection. I want them to kind of get that critical thinking going. And so as they talk amongst themselves, I would hope they would notice that there aren't all three encompassed in any of the relationships that I had talked about thus far, but I'm going to get to that now. So, the type of love that is the healthiest is consummate love, and I'm going to tell you why it is the best. So the reason that consummate love is the best out of all the type of relationships in love is because there are all three elements. There's passion, intimacy, and commitment. When you have the physical connection, the emotional connection, and the commitment to one another, that's when you are able to create the deep-rooted love that everyone is looking for in life and looking for in a life partner. So if there is not a presence of all three in the love relationship, if you do not have consummate love, it is more than likely that you're not going to have a relationship that lasts a lifetime or however long. And so the three loves that we had been talking about, there's healthy aspects, but there are also unhealthy aspects. And I'm going to tell you why. So fatuous, there's only really physical attraction. There's nothing that's beyond that. It's not emotionally healthy for a person. It's understandable if you're not looking for a committed relationship at the time, of course. When you're in college, you're wanting to explore and meet people, and you may not necessarily be looking to settle down and try and find a husband or a wife or a lifelong partner, but if you continuously keep going through relationships like that, you're never going to be emotionally satisfied with another person. And it's just not healthy for your heart. When there's affectionate, there's no physical connection. This is when emotionally healthy relationships are wonderful, of course, but this would be more just having those friendships, those really deep friendships without having that physical love. And as humans, we are all built, of course, to physically produce more humans. But so our whole purpose is to be with one another and to create offspring. Of course, not all couples do this, but affectionate love isn't always going to be the greatest kind of love you can have. And then infatuation, it's nothing more than physical attraction. It never goes anywhere beyond just beyond wanting to have someone because of what they look like. You never get that emotional connection of knowing who they are and what they're like and all of that. And so that's why consummate love, with all encompassing the three, passion, intimacy, and commitment, it makes sense why that would be the healthiest relationship. And so at this point in time in the lesson, I would have a discussion going about talking amongst yourselves. How can you determine healthy relationship habits and being able to implement that into your future relationships? The reason that I ask this question, even though high schoolers are young, typically health is taught in freshman year of high school when kids are 15, 14. It's better to have those healthy components established sooner than later, at least being able to notice signs of when people are only looking for physical things. And this would lead into a lesson that I would want to create of learning how to say no to not wanting to do those things with other people. And I think this would be able to be a healthy way to open up the conversation of consent with younger kids, because it's an important conversation that's ongoing, and I think that some people don't get the idea of what consent is, and it's really, really sad. And of course, there's a lot of stories when people come to college. There's a lot of situations where it's really tragic and things like that happen. And if I were a teacher in this situation, I would want to implement that conversation early and be able to tell them, this is what you need to know, and this is how you can be aware of what you're doing and be able to stop unhealthy habits you didn't know you had, or begin to find healthy habits that you want to implement. And that would be my lesson. Thank you. I really enjoyed this class. I'm really thankful that I got to learn more about the education system and whatnot. So thank you.